Fusion versus Witch Doctor. All-time classic or all-time controversy? Let's discuss.
Witch Doctor!
It seems that we can't go more than a couple of weeks without a close fight being scrutinized by the BattleBots community. And that was the case in Week 5 of the 2022 season, aka World Championship VII, aka Season 12. God, can we just get one name and stick with it already? This is ridiculous. Both Witch Doctor and Fusion were coming off opening round wins, ready to face off in a fight that promised fireworks.
Let the battle begin!
And it didn't take long for Fusion to find his rhythm, landing a total of 5 hits within the first 40 seconds of the fight.
Oh, he dropped first blood!
But after settling down, Witch Doctor countered, and the first shot of a handful would disable Fusion's vertical spinner for the rest of the match.
That sent Fusion flying and may have knocked out the vertical spinner.
After a brief respite, Fusion disabled Witch Doctor's weapon, then ripped off half of her front wedge, and began chipping away at the front wheel.
Oh, and now it's stripped off the left front tire, Kenny!
Despite the damage, Witch Doctor kept up the aggression and used Fusion's power against him.
The last third of this fight is going to come down to durability, Chris.
And that's when the mood changed.
Witch Doctor.
Fusion lost half its drive, and may have also suffered damage to the horizontal spinner.
Fusion looking to be breaking down here.
The final minute of the fight was a one-way pushing match, as Witch Doctor made a point of showing the judges who was more mobile as the clock struck 0.
No signs of life from Fusion, and the judges are going to take note.
A fun-filled, explosive fight.
So now that we've reviewed the match, let's go over the rules and the scores. We'll start off with damage. Damage is defined as, quote, sustaining a reduction in effectiveness or a loss of functionality. The difference between effectiveness and functionality is very important. More on that though in a bit. It is also stated that even if a bot inadvertently harms itself, it is still considered damage. So even if some of Fusion's damage came after Witch Doctor lost their weapon, it does not matter. That still counts as damage for Witch Doctor. This is one major argument people have made that can easily be debunked. Fusion lost half its drive and its vertical spinner. There may have been damage to the horizontal spinner, but it's unclear, as Fusion spent most of the remainder of the fight near the wall. To quote Reese Ewert, "I cut the weapon because I was going towards the wall. I was not trying to spin up while against the wall because that would most likely make a poofy, since it would not spin against the wall." Meanwhile, Witch Doctor suffered the loss of their vertical spinner, half of their front wedge, and the left front wheel, although the latter didn't seem to affect their ability to drive much. Because Fusion still had a possibly working horizontal weapon, the weapon damage cannot be considered anything more than effectiveness. Quote, it's considered to be functional damage only if all weapon systems are disabled. In Witch Doctor's case, the weapon loss is functionality damage because it's their only weapon, whereas the armor and wheel loss is considered effectiveness damage. The loss of armor cannot be considered functionality damage because per the example listed for defensibility, there were no exposed internals. Overall, both bots suffered significant damage, which is defined as, quote, eliminates the functionality of the drive, defensibility, or weapon system, or reduces the effectiveness of 2 or more systems of the bot. Because of this, the only possible score in the damage category is 3-2. Personally, I would have been content seeing the odd point go either way, but the judges unanimously agreed that Fusion should get it, so no complaints. Next up is Control, which the judges unanimously agreed 2-1 in favor of Witch Doctor. Here are a couple points of emphasis in the Control category that gave Witch Doctor that edge. Quote 1. Control may also be a factor when 2 bots are in a shoving match, if one bot is able to have more influence on the combined movement of the bots. The final minute of the fight was dominated by Witch Doctor, shoving Fusion to the corner and holding him there. While it may not seem like much, mathematically that is 1/3 of the fight completely controlled by Witch Doctor. Fusion only showed greater control for the first 40 seconds of the fight when he landed his early hits. The middle 80 seconds was even and saw momentum swing both ways. Quote 2. Under control factors. How well does an operator compensate for damage that the bot may have sustained? Once Witch Doctor lost half of their front wedge, driver Mike Galately expertly led with the remaining half of the wedge, feeding it into Fusion's weapon as much as possible. When considering that, along with the nature of the last minute of the fight, this is an easy category to score. That leads us to our final category, aggression. Aggression is measured based off, quote, the frequency, severity, and boldness of attacks deliberately initiated by the bot against its opponent. Frequency counts the number of attempted attacks, severity measures the intensity or forcefulness of each attack, and boldness considers the intent of the bot when attacking. For frequency, Fusion made roughly 10 aggressive charges towards Witch Doctor, most of which happened early on in the fight. Witch Doctor made over double the amount, about 24 aggressive charges towards Fusion. For severity, most of the charges saw Witch Doctor use their superior speed well to close down the space. Their attacks were direct and decisive. There was no hesitation in their movement. As for boldness, both bots willingly put themselves in harm's way time and time again, and that didn't change for Witch Doctor even after losing their weapon, with half of their charges coming after the spinner went down. Fusion did plenty to earn himself one aggression point. The fact that he had at least one working weapon for the entire fight and had more hits gives him a small case to win aggression simply off of the element of utilizing an active weapon clause. But due to his inferior speed, the inability to drive straight after losing half of the drive, and the fact that he amassed less direct charges at Witch Doctor than vice versa, the evidence against his case is a lot stronger. When comparing the judges' scores, the fact that only 1 point separated the two bots shows just how narrow the margin of victory was for Witch Doctor. There's no denying how close this fight was, and Fusion definitely performed valiantly in what I believe is arguably his best performance ever. But the evidence speaks for itself. This decision is correct. I hope you enjoyed this more extensive breakdown. If you want to see more videos like this, comment below on which fight we should investigate next. Be sure to check out our other videos on IRL BattleBots content, as well as the virtual competitions we are best known for. I am the Barangoat, thank you for watching, and we'll see you again soon.